You know that moment in a budget meeting, the tech team asks for a big chunk of money to work on a piece of software that, for all intents and purposes, seems to be working just fine. And the question hangs in the air, why are we being asked to fix something that isn't broken? Well, today, we're going to unpack that question and give you the definitive answer.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll tackle the unseen problem, why software even ages in the first place. Then, we'll map out what maintenance actually means, because it's not all one thing. We'll look at the constant forces of change you can't escape, the absolutely staggering cost of doing nothing, and then we'll shift gears to a proactive strategy you can actually use. Finally, we'll tie it all together and reframe this as a massive strategic choice.
All right, let's get right to the heart of it. We have this habit of thinking about software like it's a physical machine, like a car engine. But honestly, that's a really flawed way to look at it. And that little misunderstanding can lead to some incredibly expensive mistakes.
And this right here is the question it all comes down to. And look, from a purely business standpoint, it's a perfectly logical question. If your customers are happy and the system is up and running, shouldn't every single dollar be questioned? Absolutely. But the real issue is how we define broken.
Boom! This quote just nails the real issue. Your code itself doesn't rust or wear out like a physical part. If you left it in a vacuum, it would pretty much run forever. The problem is, your software doesn't live in a vacuum. The entire digital world around it, the operating systems, the cloud services, the security threats, the regulations, is constantly changing, constantly evolving away from your perfectly good code.
And this leads us right to the official term for this kind of work, adaptive maintenance. The key words in this definition are to keep a computer program usable in a changed or changing environment. So let's be super clear. We are not talking about fixing bugs inside the code. We're talking about adapting to massive shifts happening outside the code.
To really get this, we have to stop thinking of the word maintenance as this one single thing. It's not a monolith, it's actually a catch-all term for a bunch of different activities. And if you lump them all together, you're just setting yourself up for confusing conversations and totally mismanaged budgets.
Now check this out, because this chart just completely shatters a huge myth. Look at corrective maintenance. That's your classic bug fixing. It's only about 20% of the work. A full quarter of the effort is adaptive, what we're talking about today. And the biggest piece of the pie? Perfective, which is all about adding new features. So right away, we see that maintenance is way more than just firefighting.
This table is a fantastic little cheat sheet. You've got corrective for when something actually breaks. You have perfective, which is you choosing to make things better. Then there's preventive, which is like cleaning up your code to prevent future problems. And then there's our focus, adaptive, which is all about reacting to those external changes just to stay in the game.
Now this is where people can get a little tangled up, but this analogy makes it crystal clear. Think about your house. Adaptive maintenance is like finding out you live on a newly discovered fault line, so you have to reinforce your foundation. You're forced to do it to keep the house standing. Perfective maintenance, that's you deciding to renovate your kitchen because you want a nicer, more modern space. One keeps it usable, the other makes it better. Big difference.
So, what are these relentless external forces we're talking about? The truth is, in today's world, your company doesn't really control its own technology environment anymore. The pace of change is being set by literally everyone else.
I mean, just look at this list. A new version of an operating system drops. An API you depend on suddenly changes. New data privacy laws like GDPR get passed. A brand new security vulnerability is discovered. Your cloud provider updates their services. You don't control a single one of these things. They are going to happen whether you're ready or not. The only thing you actually control is how you respond.
And that response is, well, it's everything. Because choosing to do nothing, choosing to wait and see, is not a zero-cost option. It's a choice that introduces two huge risks: the slow, painful poison of technical debt and the sudden knockout punch of non-compliance. Ward Cunningham, the guy who came up with this idea of technical debt, he just put it perfectly. Every single time you put off a necessary update, you're basically taking out a loan. And that loan collects interest, making every future project slower, more expensive, and a whole lot more frustrating. Eventually, your teams are spending all their time just paying off the interest, and innovation just grinds to a halt. But technical debt is the slow burn. The sudden explosion? That comes from non-compliance. This number, 1.2 billion euros. That was the fine that Meta got hit with in 2023 for GDPR violations. Ignoring these changes isn't just a little risky,
It can be a company-ending event.
And okay, maybe Meta is an extreme case, but the Ponemon Institute found that the average cost of non-compliance for a regular company is $15 million. And that's not just the fine. That includes business disruption, damage to your reputation, legal fees, the whole shebang.
This chart just lays out the business case in the starkest terms possible. The cost of failing to comply is nearly 3 times higher than the cost of actually doing the work to stay compliant. So investing in this kind of adaptive maintenance isn't a cost center. It's actually one of the smartest, highest return investments a company can make. It's a no-brainer.
Okay, so we get the problem, we've seen the risks. Now for the good part, the solution. How do we get out of this cycle of constant firefighting and move to a place of strategic control where this stuff is predictable?
It's really a pretty simple, logical 4-step process. First, you have to be constantly scanning the horizon, monitoring the environment for changes. Second, when a change is announced, you analyze what its impact is going to be on you. Third, and this is so important, you build this work into your normal budgets and roadmaps. It's not a surprise. And fourth, you have a skilled, agile team that's ready to execute.
And for that budgeting step, here is a fantastic, practical rule of thumb. The industry standard is to budget about 15 to 20% of the initial development cost every single year for all of these maintenance activities. When you do that, you transform these unpredictable, hair-on-fire crises into a managed, predictable line item in your budget.
So let's just pull this all together. It's time to stop thinking about adaptive maintenance as some boring, technical chore that you have to do. It's a fundamental business decision. It's a choice between investing in your future or accepting an unmanaged and frankly unacceptable risk.
This right here is the bottom line. The digital world is always moving, and a piece of software that isn't being actively maintained to keep up with that change isn't just standing still, it's actively moving backwards. It's becoming more obsolete, more insecure, and more of a liability with every single passing day. Proactive adaptation isn't an expense, it's an investment in your company's survival.
Which leaves us with one final, and I think, crucial question for you to take back to your own organization. Are you actively managing your software as the strategic asset it's supposed to be, or are you just letting it sit there, slowly turning into a ticking liability? The choice is entirely yours.